right, if you are a soon-to-be first-time mom or you just had your baby, let's dive into how to care for your newborn, starting with how to give your baby a bath. I'm gonna first show you guys how to give a baby a bath that has a stump. So when your baby is born, they have their umbilical cord. This is clamped after birth. The clamp stays on and they'll take it off whenever you're discharging home from the hospital. However, there is still a stump of umbilical cord that is usually on your baby for anywhere from 2 days after birth to sometimes up to 2 weeks after birth. The biggest thing with the stump is you are not supposed to submerge it in water. We want it to completely dry out and fall off on its own. Do not pull it off. So until it falls off on its own, we have to just sponge bathe the baby because you don't want to be submerging them in water. So I'll show you guys basically just how to sponge bathe your baby. You could do this in your kitchen sink with your baby bath and just not fill it up with water and just use the wet washcloths. However, I like to do it just on the kitchen counter. I will just take my changing pad and gather all my supplies. All right, so let me show you how to sponge bathe your baby. I'm obviously doing a fake baby doll because I'm not gonna post my real baby on the internet. So for purposes, this is the stump and this is what we're trying to avoid and keep dry for the bath. So first thing you wanna do is you wanna undress your baby, and obviously babies are not good at temperature regulation, so you wanna try to keep them warm while you're bathing them. So what you can do is basically just take some washcloths, dip them in that warm water, and lay it over the parts that you're not gonna be cleaning. So if you're gonna start at the head, always start head to toe. Basically drape that washcloth over their bottom. That'll help keep them warm while you're cleaning the open parts. So it's definitely best to start from head to toe. However, we are gonna do the hair last, and I'll explain that later on, but basically you're just gonna start like from neck and work your way down. So I like to just start getting a washcloth wet, no soap, and basically just go over the baby's skin, getting them all wet. So you can start with their neck, you can start with their chest, get their arms wet. We're basically just getting their skin wet, and then especially if your baby's fairly new, they might still have some vernix on their skin, in their neck folds, their armpit folds. So you really want to just kind of get in there and just get all that wet so we can kind of scrub it off with the soap. And since I'm moving on to the bottom, I can kind of move this up to keep them warm. Again, just kind of getting all the skin wet. All right, and then I will take a washcloth, a new one, and get that soapy. So basically we're just gonna make it sudsy. You can also just pour some suds in your water and get that sudsy. But basically we'll take the sudsy soap and then we'll again start from the neck down. Start with their neck, just really getting in all of their neck folds, scrubbing their arms, their chunky little rolls, getting in their pits. I know neck cheese loves to roll from the neck to the armpit, so don't forget that spot. You're gonna get their full chest. And then you can also, if you're obviously safely holding their neck, you can roll them to the side, and this is a good time to scrub their back. But basically you wanna work head down because that's basically working from the cleanest to the dirtiest parts, because obviously their groin genital region is gonna be the dirtiest part on the baby. You're gonna get in all those folds, get that clean, keep going down, legs, toes. This is a really good time to check their toes for hair tourniquets. A lot of the times, especially if you have long hair as a woman, if you get a hair wrapped around their toe, this can potentially cut off circulation, cause increased screaming, crying. So just a good time to check the toes, make sure there's no hairs, dirt, anything like that. And then we can take a new washcloth, dip it again in warm water, and basically just kind of go over them again, kind of rinsing all of that soap off. So again, just working from my neck, down over my chest, my arms, my hands. You can again flip them to the back, get their back side, move the cloth up, get their genital region, and you're basically just avoiding the stump the whole time you're doing this. So you're wiping their belly from the stump up, and then you're wiping below the stump in the groin area. You're basically using this instead of submerging them in water. And then this is why I like to have a towel handy. A great tip too is to keep a towel in your dryer while you're giving the bath, and then that way it's super warm, because your baby's probably gonna be fussy and they're gonna be cold. No matter how much you cover them, babies just get cold. But basically the easiest way to then do the head is we're gonna take the baby and we're gonna wrap them up in the towel. All right, the baby's all wrapped up, and if you wanted to go ahead and diaper and dress your baby, that's totally fine, because we're basically gonna get their head next, and because their head basically gets rid of their heat the most out of their whole body, that's why we wanna do this last, basically to kind of lock in the heat in their body while we're washing their head. So what I like to do is just turn the water on and get it warm, get it to a good temperature that you're comfortable with, obviously same as like a bath temperature. And then you're just gonna hold your baby, making sure their neck is supported, and you're basically just gonna run their head under the water. Most babies absolutely love this because again, they were in water for 9 months, so they love the feeling of water on their head. You're basically just gonna get it wet, and then either with a washcloth or your hand, you're gonna take some of that baby soap and then basically just wash their hair. And basically just run it under there again. If your baby has a lot of hair or they're getting some cradle cap, you can use a soft bristle brush like this one. This also just helps kind of brush that hair and get that soap in there. But most of the time, I will just use my hand. And then if you do have a hooded towel, this would be a good time to basically just pull that hood up and put it on the baby. But I will usually just kind of grab the excess of my towel and blot their head and bring them into the bedroom and get them dressed. So once the bath is done and you're getting baby dressed, a great tip, especially if you have a fan in your bedroom, turn the fan off whenever you're going to do your bath because that will just continue to make the baby cold and make them fussy. All right, baby is clean and dressed now, so this is a good time to kind of wash their face and their ears. Obviously, baby is content, they're warm. So again, we're just gonna take a warm washcloth, and just like they tell adults, you don't wanna use Q-tips in your ear, so same with the baby. The best thing to do is just take a washcloth, wrap your finger around it, and clean inside and outside of the ear. Just making sure that when you go back in and changing positions, you're just switching to a new spot on the cloth. And then if they have anything on their face, you can wipe their cheeks, wipe their nose, their head. But basically that is how to give a baby a bath with a stump. The biggest difference when the stump falls off is that you can put the baby in a bathtub like this and set them in there, fill your sink or tub with water, and baby can sit in there and you would clean them basically the same way. The biggest thing with the stump is you don't want to get it wet. You want to keep it dry and let it fall off on its own. Do not pull it off, even if it's hanging by a thread. But really, there are so many ways to bathe your baby, so whatever way you feel comfortable doing it is totally fine. Lots of variations to clean them. Make sure to try to keep them warm, keep that stump dry, and good luck.